With the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco, a hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
So much to get to, so many texts that we cannot no way read all of them or respond to all of them, and or on the YouTube channel 365. But we're trying to give you different perspectives and angles of everyone that's kind of involved in this. And right now, that's probably maybe 65 or 100 schools in college football. One of them is Iowa State. They got a hell of a program. And Randy Peterson of the Des Moines Register joins us. Columnist has covered them a long time on SicEm365 Radio. Randy, thanks for your time. You do a great job with the Cyclones, among other things as well. What's it been like in Ames since Wednesday afternoon when the bombshell busted?
I'm pretty sure everybody was as surprised as everybody else, including Bob Bowlesby and the other athletic directors in the Big 12 Conference. I think they probably pretty much fell asleep at the wheel on this one, just from everything that Bowlesby's been saying and doing, and especially at last week at Big 12 or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, at Big 12 Media Days, where Bowlesby was asked the question about realignment, and he said that it's a moot subject, it's a moot point. He's not losing a whole lot of sleep over it or any sleep over it. And then here, a week later, all hell breaks loose. So I think I know people in Ames are Iowa State fans are anxious. They have angst in their going through their minds right now, wondering what's going to happen. And the Iowa State fans that I've talked to, I told them, I said, golly, just concern yourself with things you can control. That nothing they're going to do is going to change anything. And I told them to be careful what you read on the Twitter, or hear on anything, see anywhere on social media. But everybody wants to know. So, and Iowa State is in the same boat. We've not yet heard from athletics director Jamie Pollard. So I think we're kind of waiting to hear from him. And I know Jamie's MO. I know he was waiting until stuff became more official. But from the letter this morning, it sounds like it's pretty darn official.
Randy, does the administration, I know they haven't, nobody's administration has said much, but do you get the idea that they would be confident about where they would wind up?
I don't know that. I think so. I think they're confident that Iowa State is far enough along that football is going to drive this, and that Iowa State's football under Matt Campbell the last 5 years or so, it's become what Campbell called the laughing stock when he got here to national prominence. So given the support that Iowa State has for football, Iowa State is number 44 in revenue. And the basketball program is it's been good. Basketball crowds continue to be good. All the sports in the sports that matter, Iowa State is a player. So I think given that confidence, given those facts, I think Iowa State fans, and I think among administrators, there's a certain confidence that Iowa State's going to land somewhere. Certainly, it's not going to be in a conference. There's not going to be any conferences that are going to end up with money that SEC like money. But I think Iowa State fans are confident that they'll end up someplace pretty darn good.
Randy, what are your thoughts on the idea? Because Texas and Oklahoma at the moment, if they're to continue on their current direction, they're going to end up owing, as of now, the Big 12 a heck of a lot of money. Now, that would all go away if the other schools start to abandon ship and the conference fizzles away. What are your thoughts on the idea of the Big 12's 8 remaining schools sticking together, adding some more teams, and trying to keep this thing moving forward?
I think that's what, from what the releases or statements that I've seen from Bob Bowlesby, that looks like that's plan A, is to go out and keep the Big 12 as vibrant, keep the Big 12 if you can. Now, whether that's 10 teams, 12 teams, 14 teams, I don't know. Whether if they want to go to 10, whether that means adding BYU and Cincinnati, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But knowing also that that's not Texas and Oklahoma. There's no 1-for-1 substitution there unless you're getting Notre Dame and the New York Yankees, and you're probably got a better chance of getting New York Yankees than you do Notre Dame. You're not that's how you're not getting Notre Dame. I think that would be plan A, while knowing that individual schools are either going out rogue and trying to do what would be best for their own school, which is what they should be doing, at least exploring, or going out in package deals, packages, saying if school A goes, you get school B and school C along with it. So the Big 12's got something to sell. So, my gosh, the most recent NCAA champion. So, and take away Oklahoma, but Iowa State football is still supposed to be pretty darn good and could be in the college football playoff mix. So the Big 12's got some pretty good stuff to sell. It's just a matter of who's buying.
Randy, were you in Arlington for the Big 12 Media Days? I'm sure you were.
I was,
okay.
Yeah.
We know Bowlesby got up on the big stage, as did everyone else, and basically was with us on our show for a long time, and even discussed how he thought realignment was just like basically almost on the back burner. And then less than a week later, there's this blindside news with Oklahoma and Texas in the SEC. There are a lot of people that like him, respect him. He's done a lot of things, and there are times I've been pissed off at him over things he's done or said. Should he? I don't think you could fire him now, but should he step down as the commissioner of the Big 12, or is that the worst time to do it because everything's so shaky?
I think this is the worst time to do it. I think I agree with you that Bob got blindsided by this whole thing. Those administrators, Bowlesby and all of the athletic directors and all the university presidents, that's their job. That's one of their main jobs, is to make sure the Big 12 conference stays together. And especially when that conference is run by Texas and Oklahoma, essentially, my gosh, you got to make sure your anchor stores are happy. And if they're not, you ought to know about it. But how this became a secret for a year, whatever it is, including, and for something that also included maybe some Texas legislators, how this became a secret, I don't know. But as far as Bowlesby, yeah, I looked at his contract the other day, or I looked up his contract, and he re-upped through 2025, which is all the TV contracts, and I don't know what happens beyond that. But I would think that this would not be a great time to bring a new commissioner into the mix. Just like Pac-12's got a new commissioner with not a whole lot of college sports background. How that's going to be? Because the Big 12's the Pac-12's going to be a player in some of this. Everybody's going to be a player in some of this. It's just a matter of who's got chairs when the music stops and who doesn't.
Randy, do you expect this? I mean, we've talked about it. Do you expect this to really be 2025 before these teams go, or that the lawyers will have their say, and then this could be probably next year? I think it'll be sooner than 2025. I don't know how much sooner than that. I cannot imagine Oklahoma and UT being in the conference for 4 years, in a conference where they're essentially a pariah now anyway, where they were going behind people's backs and dealing, behind people's backs. I can't imagine that would be a comfortable situation for those schools or the remaining Big 12 schools. So I'm guessing there's going to be some kind of litigation out there, and I don't know whether they'll settle on anything. I don't know what kind of agreement they'll make, but
but I even had heard somebody say that that those teams wouldn't play this year. Well, that's bunk. And I don't even know. It may be too far along even to change scheduling for 2022. But I think anything after that, I think it's roll the dice.
See, I don't know what the Iowa political landscape is like, so that's why I'm asking this question. Would there be any, pushback from Iowa as far as a Big Ten entrance for Iowa State, in your opinion?
That's a great question. I've not heard anything like that. I've not heard that it's anything like what Texas A&M and pushing back for Texas. At least that was the initial thing I saw. I've not heard anything with Iowa in that respect, and I covered University of Iowa for a lot of years. I've not heard anything about that, but certainly it could be out there. I mean, it could, but University of Iowa just is now transitioning a new president also. So I mean, it's transition everywhere. But I've not heard anything to make me believe that the University of Iowa will do something to block the Big 12. And here's one more thing in that respect. Barry Alvarez, let's not forget the role Barry Alvarez, the former athletic director at Wisconsin, could play on this. He's serving as a consultant for Wisconsin athletics right now, I believe, or something along those lines. Jimmy Pollard came to Iowa State from Wisconsin. So Barry Alvarez still wields very much power in college football, and including the Big Ten. So I'm just kind of connecting some dots there in my own mind and saying, well, Iowa State might have a spot with Barry there, but who knows? But
exactly.
That's kind of the things we're all looking at, that's crazy sometimes.
Yeah, I started the show today, and I even mentioned it, all of us did last week, and I think you're right, Randy, what you said, I think, as well. Don't believe everything that's on Twitter, and surely even if it's somebody that's someone, has a lot of respect and has been around, like, USC and Oregon are in talks with the Big Ten. We don't know that, and I mean, if the writer does, that's great, but there's so many scenarios. Do you think that the Big 12 can survive if they add, and it would depend on who, because I'm not sure anyone would want to come to this conference unless they're a group of 5, and even some of them would say no. Do you think they can survive this?
I think they can survive with the right teams. I don't know whether they can survive going with a 10-team conference, which to me would mean adding Cincinnati and BYU if that's all possible, and not knowing the breakaway contracts for them, or BYU probably wouldn't have any, not knowing the breakaway contracts, whatever. But I think if the Big 12 has to do something, they've got to go 12 or 14. And then I think maybe, and knowing full well that the teams are not going to be getting as much money as they got from when Texas and Oklahoma were in the conference. But the Big 12 goes 12 or 14 teams, gets on the offensive instead of playing defensive, gets on the offensive. I think the Big 12's got a shot, and I think the Big 12's got a shot anyway. I mean, unless the whole world goes to, what would it be, 4 16-team conferences? Yeah. I don't know. So, I mean, then they certainly have a place somewhere among the top 64 teams, but I don't know whether the Big 12 would be, it would be called the Big 12 per se. I don't know.
All right, buddy. Thanks, Randy. Appreciate your time. Randy Peterson, the Des Moines Register, covers Iowa State, covers the state of Iowa, does a great job with it to give us the Cyclones perspective. Tomorrow, we're going to get the Texas Tech perspective, among some others, and we'll also get the perspective of some of the schools in the SEC and even around the country as well.